Chapter 1. The River Road to Riches. May 12, 922 AD. Volga River, 200 miles south of Bulgar. The dragon-proud ship cuts through brown water, its single square sail catching the wind that blows from the northern forests. At the steering oar stands Thorvald Eriksson, a Swedish trader who left Uppsala 6 months ago with a cargo hold full of furs, amber, and slaves. His hands are calloused from rowing when the wind fails, his face weathered from sun and spray, and his eyes fixed on the horizon where, if the rumors are true, lies wealth beyond anything the Norse world has ever imagined. "How much further?" asks Bjorn, his younger brother and second in command. At 19, Bjorn has the restless energy of a man who grew up hearing stories of Viking raids on England and Francia, stories of silver crosses torn from monasteries, of gold taken from terrified monks. But this journey is different. They're not raiding. They're trading. 3 weeks to the Caspian portage, Thorvald replies. Then overland to the Caspian Sea. Then, if Allah wills it, as the Muslims say, another month to the city of peace. Baghdad. The name itself sounds like a legend. For 3 years, Thorvald has been trading along the Volga route, exchanging Norse furs and amber for Arab silver at the markets of Bulgar and Ital. But he's never gone further south than the Khazar lands. The journey to Baghdad is long, dangerous, and expensive. You need a large crew to defend against river pirates. You need trade goods valuable enough to justify the risk. And you need connections, Arab merchants who can vouch for you in the markets of the Abbasid Caliphate, where a foreign trader without protection can disappear without a trace. This year, Thorvald has all three. His crew numbers 40 men, warriors as well as rowers, men who can fight as well as they can trade. His cargo includes the finest sable furs from the northern forests, amber from the Baltic coast, so clear you can see insects trapped inside it, and 23 slaves captured in raids on Slavic villages. And most importantly, he has a letter of introduction from a Khazar merchant named Isaac, who trades regularly in Baghdad and has agreed to sponsor Thorvald's entry into the markets of the Abbasid capital. Behind Thorvald's ship, 3 more vessels follow in loose formation. A trading convoy that left Burka in the spring, sailed across the Baltic, navigated the treacherous rapids of the Dnieper, and then switched to the Volga route for the final approach to the Islamic world. It's a journey that takes most of a year, crosses 3 climate zones, and requires knowledge of languages from Old Norse to Slavic to Arabic. The Rus, as the Arabs and Slavs call these Swedish traders, have been making this journey for nearly a century. They're not the Vikings who raid England and Francia, though many of them come from the same Swedish and Norwegian families. They're merchant warriors who discovered that the rivers of Eastern Europe provide a highway from the Baltic to the richest markets in the world. The Volga route connects the cold northern forests, where furs are common and silver is rare, to the warm Islamic lands where silver flows like water and exotic furs are worth their weight in gold. "There," says Ragnar, the ship's navigator, pointing to a plume of smoke on the eastern bank. "Trading post. We can resupply there." As they approach the shore, Thorvald can see a small settlement, wooden palisades, a few longhouses, boats pulled up on the muddy bank. It's a Rus trading post, one of dozens that at the river routes from the Baltic to the Caspian. Here, Norse traders can buy supplies, repair their ships, and gather intelligence about conditions further south. Here, they can also meet the people who will change their understanding of wealth forever. Standing on the dock is a man in robes that shimmer in the afternoon sun. Silk, Thorvald realizes, something he's seen only twice before in his life. The man's beard is dark and carefully trimmed, his hands decorated with rings that catch the light. Behind him, servants unload cargo from a river barge. Wooden crates, ceramic jars sealed with wax, leather bags that clink with the unmistakable sound of coins. As-salamu alaikum. The man calls out in accented but clear Arabic. "Peace be upon you. I am Mahmud Ibn Yusuf, merchant of Baghdad, on my return from the markets of Bulgar." "You are Rus, yes?" "Traders bound for the southern lands." Thorvald's Arabic is rough, learned from 2 years of trading with Muslim merchants, but it's functional. "Wa alaykumu assalam." "Yes, we travel to Baghdad." We seek the markets of the commander of the faithful. Mahmud's eyes light up, the look of a merchant sensing opportunity. Then you are fortunate to meet me. I have just returned from those very markets. Tell me, Rus trader, what do you know of Baghdad? What do you expect to find there? Thorvald hesitates. How do you describe expectations for a place you've never seen? We hear the Caliph is wealthy, that silver is plentiful, that a good fur can buy. He trails off, uncertain. Mahmud laughs, not mockery, but genuine amusement. My friend, you understand nothing. Baghdad is not a market. It is not a city. It is a miracle, a jewel placed by Allah in the desert, where 500,000 souls live in palaces and gardens watered by the Tigris, where scholars debate philosophy in libraries containing books you cannot imagine, where the silver you seek is so common that even beggars carry dirhams in their purses. He reaches into his robes and produces a handful of coins, small silver discs stamped with Arabic script. Dirhams, each one worth its weight in silver. In your northern lands, these are treasure. In Baghdad, they are pocket change. A single sable pelt like the ones you carry? In Baghdad, they'll buy you 500 dirhams. Perhaps 1,000 if the quality is exceptional. Thorvald stares at the coins in Mahmud's palm. 500 dirhams for a single fur? 1,000? His entire cargo might be worth. He can't even calculate it. The number is too large, too impossible. Come, Mahmud says, gesturing toward the trading post. We will drink tea, proper tea from China, not the bitter herbs you northerners brew. And I will tell you about the city of peace. I will prepare you for wonders that will make your God seem small and your home seem poor. Because, my Rus friend, you are about to discover what wealth really means. Chapter 2. The Arab's Tale. May 12, 922 A.D. Evening. Rus trading post on the Volga. Inside the longhouse, oil lamps cast flickering shadows across rough timber walls. Thorvald sits on a bench opposite Mahmud, a cup of tea, real tea, fragrant and hot, warming his hands. Around them, his crew members crowd close, their eyes fixed on the Arab merchant with the intensity of men hearing prophecy. Mahmud has spent the last hour describing Baghdad, and with each detail, the Vikings' understanding of civilization shifts like ice breaking in spring. The round city, Mahmud says, his hands tracing circles in the air, was built by Caliph Al-Mansur 160 years ago. For concentric walls, each one higher than the last. The outer wall stands 30 cubits tall, taller than any tree in your forests. Gates of iron, so massive it takes 20 men to open them. And within those walls, he pauses for effect. Within those walls live more people than in all of your Sweden. Bjorn snorts in disbelief. Impossible. Our largest towns have perhaps 3,000 souls. You're saying Baghdad has, what? 10,000? 20? 500,000, Mahmud says simply. Perhaps more. No one knows the exact count because the city grows every year. People come from Persia, from India, from Africa, from the lands of the Greeks, all seeking fortune in the markets of the Caliph. The markets. He closes his eyes, remembering. There are markets for everything. Silk from China, spices from India, gold from Africa, books from Greece translated into Arabic, mechanical devices that tell time by the movement of water, physicians who can cut a man open, remove diseased organs, and sew him back together, mathematicians who understand numbers your language doesn't even have words for. He leans forward, his voice dropping to something almost conspiratorial. But what will amaze you most, Rus trader, is not the size or the learning. It is the silver. Do you know how the Abbasids produce their dirhams? They control the silver mines of the East, mines so rich that the ore comes out of the ground nearly pure. They have mints in every major city, each one striking thousands of coins every day. The currency is so stable, so trusted, that a dirham minted in Baghdad is accepted without question in markets from Spain to India. Thorvald tries to imagine it. Mints striking thousands of coins daily, mines producing silver by the ton, an economy so vast that 500,000 people could be fed, clothed, and housed. In Uppsala, in Burka, in all the trading towns of Scandinavia, Silver is hoarded, treasured, buried with the dead. Here, Mahmud describes it flowing like water. Tell me about the markets, Thorvald says. Where do we sell our goods? How does the trading work? Mahmud's eyes gleam. There are many markets, each specialized. For furs, you will go to the Suq al-Lateran, the market of perfumers and luxury goods. It sits in the heart of the round city, near the Caliph's palace. The merchants there are wealthy beyond measure, and they compete fiercely for the finest goods. Your sable furs will cause a sensation. True northern sable is rare in Baghdad, worth more than its weight in silver because the wealthy use it to line their winter robes to demonstrate their status. He pauses to sip his tea. But you must understand, Baghdad is not like your northern markets where men shake hands and trust to honor. Baghdad is sophisticated. Contracts are written, witnessed, sealed. Disputes are settled by qadis, judges who know the law of the Prophet, peace be upon him. You will need a sponsor, someone to vouch for you, to introduce you to the right merchants. Without this, you're just another foreigner with goods to sell, vulnerable to cheats and thieves. I have a letter, Thorvald says, producing the document Isaac gave him. From Isaac the Khazar. He trades in Baghdad. Mahmud examines the letter, his expression shifting from curiosity to respect. Isaac Ibn Abraham. Yes, I know him. A good man, honest in his dealings. This letter will open doors for you. With Isaac's sponsorship, you can trade in the best markets, access the wealthiest buyers. He hands the letter back carefully. You are more prepared than I thought, Rush trader. Ragnar, who has been silent until now, speaks up. This silver you speak of, these dirhams, when we return north, will merchants there accept them? Accept them? Mahmud laughs. My friend, Arab silver already flows through your northern lands like blood through veins. Every market from Novgorod to Burqa uses dirhams as currency. Your own people melt them down, recast them, hoard them in buried treasures. The entire economy of the Rush trade depends on Arab silver flowing north in exchange for furs, amber, and slaves flowing south. You are part of a trade network that spans half the world, and Baghdad is its beating heart. He stands, walks to his baggage, and returns with a small chest. Opening it reveals hundreds of silver dirhams, each one stamped with Arabic calligraphy declaring, "There is no God but God," and the name of the reigning caliph. The Vikings stare at the fortune in the box. More silver than most of them have seen in their entire lives, and Mahmud treats it like traveling money. This, Mahmud says, picking up a handful of coins and letting them fall through his fingers like water, is what you seek. And in Baghdad, this is commonplace. Merchants carry purses heavy with dirhams. Money changers sit in the bazaars with scales and weights, exchanging currencies from a dozen different lands. The caliph's treasury holds more silver than your entire nation could spend in 100 years. Thorvald realizes that his entire understanding of wealth has been provincial, limited by the scarcity economy of the north. In Scandinavia, a man who owns 10 pieces of silver is prosperous. A chieftain with 100 is powerful. But Baghdad operates on a scale that makes Nordic wealth look like poverty. The silver that flows north along the Volga route, the treasure that Norse traders risk their lives to obtain, is pocket change in the markets of the Abbasid Caliphate. When do we see it? Bjorn asks, his voice hushed with something like reverence. This city of peace, these markets of silver. Mahmud smiles. Continue south on the Volga. 3 weeks to the Caspian portage. 3 days overland. Then sail south on the Caspian Sea to the port of Abbasid. From there, another month by river and road to Baghdad. If you leave tomorrow at dawn and Allah grants you good weather, you'll see the walls of the round city by the end of summer. He stands, preparing to leave. And when you do, remember this conversation. Remember that I told you what to expect. Because even with my warnings, even with my descriptions, the reality will overwhelm you. He's right. But even Mahmud, with all his eloquence, cannot fully prepare the Vikings for what they're about to see. Chapter 3. The Journey South. August 3rd, 922 AD. Tigris River, 10 miles north of Baghdad. The journey from the Volga has taken 3 months. 3 months of rowing and sailing, of portaging boats across land, of navigating unfamiliar rivers through territories controlled by peoples whose languages Thorvald doesn't speak. 3 months of watching the landscape transform from northern forests to southern deserts, from cold rain to scorching sun. 3 months of anticipation building like a storm. Now, as the dragon-prowed ships navigate the Tigris in the late afternoon heat, Thorvald sees the first signs of the civilization Mahmud described. Villages line both banks, not the scattered settlements of the north, but continuous habitation, house after house, garden after garden, irrigation channels carrying water from the river to fields of crops Thorvald doesn't recognize. Every few miles, there are bridges, stone bridges, some of them spanning the river with arches that seem to defy gravity. How many people? Bjorn asks, staring at the endless procession of settlements. There must be thousands, tens of thousands. These are just the suburbs, says their guide, a Persian merchant named Rostam who joined them at the Caspian Sea. His Norse is broken but serviceable. Wait, soon you see city walls. Then you understand. The sun is low on the horizon when they round a bend in the river and see it. Baghdad. The round city rises from the plain like a mirage, but solid, terrifyingly solid. For concentric walls, exactly as Mahmud described, each one higher than the last, gleaming white in the setting sun. The outer wall stretches to the horizon on both sides of the river, so long that Thorvald cannot see where it ends. Gates, massive gates of wood reinforced with iron, stand open to receive the evening traffic. And beyond the walls, rising above them like mountains, are domes and minarets, towers and palaces, structures so large and numerous that they seem to blend into a single golden mass in the fading light. Thorvald's ship drifts to a stop, his hand frozen on the steering oar. Around him, his crew has gone silent. 40 Norse warriors, men who have raided monasteries and fought shield walls, rendered speechless by architecture. By Odin, Ragnar whispers, It's not possible. No city can be that large. But it is possible. It is real. And as they drift closer, the scale becomes even more overwhelming. The outer wall is not 30 cubits tall. It's taller, much taller, rising perhaps 50 feet above the ground. Guard towers punctuate the wall every 100 yards, each one large enough to house a Norse longhouse. The gates are not just iron reinforced. They're works of art, decorated with geometric patterns and calligraphy that catches the dying sunlight. And the traffic. Sweet Christ, the traffic. Boats crowd the river, hundreds of them, ranging from small fishing vessels to massive cargo barges. The docks stretch for what looks like miles, each one bustling with workers loading and unloading goods. On the roads leading to the gates, Thorvald can see caravans. Not just carts and wagons, but entire columns of camels, horses, and oxen carrying goods from across the known world. We dock at the foreign merchants' quarter, Rostam says, pointing to a section of the waterfront marked by flags and pennants. Many nations trade here. You see, that flag, blue and white, is Greek. The red one is Persian. The green is from Khorasan. Each nation has its own area, its own warehouses. Where is the flag for the Rus? Bjorn asks. Rostam looks uncomfortable. Rus are new. Not many come this far. Usually they trade at Bulgar or ITL, sell to intermediaries. You are perhaps the first Rus to bring goods directly to Baghdad in many years. There is no designated area. You will dock with the other northern traders, Khazars, Bulgars, sometimes traders from the lands beyond the Caspian. As they navigate toward the foreign quarter, a patrol boat approaches, a sleek vessel with a crew of armed men wearing chain mail and turbans. An officer hails them in Arabic, his tone authoritative but not hostile. Rostam responds, showing documents, explaining their cargo and intentions. The exchange takes several minutes, and Thorvald notices the officer's eyes widening slightly when Rostam mentions the Rus origins of the traders and the quality of their furs. You are cleared to dock, the officer finally says in accented but clear Norse. Apparently, some of the port officials have learned the language of northern traders. Welcome to Baghdad, city of peace, seat of the commander of the faithful. You will register your cargo tomorrow morning with the customs office. You will pay the appropriate taxes, and you will conduct yourself with honor, or the caliph's guards will ensure you regret it. He smiles, but there's steel beneath the courtesy. Enjoy our markets, northerner. You've traveled far to see them. They dock as the sun sets, tying up alongside boats from a dozen different nations. Around them, the waterfront comes alive with evening activity. Merchants closing their stalls, workers heading home, street vendors lighting lamps to sell food to the late-night crowds. The smell of the city washes over them. Spices and smoke, sewage and perfume, the concentrated odor of 500,000 people living in close quarters. Thorvald steps onto the dock, his legs unsteady after 3 months on water. He looks up at the walls of Baghdad, at the minarets silhouetted against the darkening sky, at the countless lights beginning to glow in windows and streets. Somewhere in that vast city are the markets Mahmud described. Somewhere in there is enough silver to make every man and his crew wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. Tomorrow, Rostam says, sensing Thorvald's impatience. Tomorrow we go to the markets. Tonight, you rest, you prepare. Tomorrow, you see what the Islamic world has built while your people were still raiding monasteries for their silver candlesticks. There's no insult in his tone, just statement of fact. And standing on the docks of Baghdad, staring at a civilization that dwarfs anything the Norse world has produced, Thorvald cannot argue. The Vikings have arrived at the heart of the medieval world economy. Tomorrow, they will discover what that means. Chapter 4. The Silver Flood. August 4th, 922 AD. Dawn. Suq al-Adaran, the market of perfumers and luxury goods. Thorvald walks through streets that seem designed to overwhelm the senses. The market quarter sits within the second ring of walls, protected from the chaos of the outer districts but still open to the sky, allowing morning light to filter through latticed awnings that cast geometric shadows across stone pavement. Every surface is decorated, tiles in blue and green and gold, carved wooden screens, brass lanterns hanging from chains, fountains trickling water into basins where merchants wash before prayers. But what truly stuns him is the density of commerce. Shops line both sides of the street, stall after stall after stall, each one specialized. Here, a merchant sells nothing but silk from China, rolls of fabric in colors Thorvald has never seen, embroidered with dragons and phoenixes. There, another deals exclusively in spices, cinnamon and pepper, saffron and cardamom, scents so powerful they make his eyes water. Further on, a jeweler displays rings and necklaces set with stones that catch the morning light like captured fire. And everywhere, there is silver, not hidden away in treasure chests or hoarded in buried caches, but circulating openly, casually, as commonplace as dried fish in a Norse market. A woman buys bread from a baker, counts out 5 small silver dirhams, receives her purchase and her change without ceremony. A fabric merchant concludes a deal with a customer, and a servant brings out a leather pouch. When opened, it spills perhaps 200 silver coins onto a counting table. The merchant weighs them on a bronze scale, nods satisfaction, and the transaction is complete. How much silver is in this city? Bjorn whispers to his brother, his voice tight with disbelief. Thorvald has no answer. He's trying to calculate, trying to estimate based on the transactions he's witnessing, but the numbers become absurd. If every market in Baghdad conducts business at this volume, if silver circulates this freely throughout the city, then the total amount must be millions of dirhams? Tens of millions? The entire silver wealth of Scandinavia wouldn't fill a single warehouse in this marketplace. Rostam leads them deeper into the market, navigating the maze of streets with the confidence of long familiarity. They pass a money changer stall where a merchant sits surrounded by different currencies, Byzantine gold coins, Persian silver, even some copper pieces from India. The money changer has a set of calibrated weights and can convert between any currency system in the known world. Thorvald watches as a Greek trader exchanges a handful of gold numismata for Arab dirhams. The rate is precisely calculated, witnessed by 2 assistants, and recorded in a ledger. Everything is recorded, Rostam explains, noticing Thorvald's interest. Contracts, transactions, debts, credits. Baghdad runs on written agreements, not just spoken oaths. The law of the Prophet, peace be upon him, requires witnesses and documentation. This prevents disputes, ensures honesty. They arrive at last at a large building, not a stall, but a proper merchant house, 3 stories tall, with a courtyard in the center. This is the establishment of Isaac ibn Abraham, the Khazar merchant whose letter opened doors for Thorvald. A servant takes them through the courtyard where a fountain plays, past rooms where clerks sit at low desks making entries in account books, to an upper chamber where Isaac himself waits. Isaac is a man of perhaps 50, his beard gray, his robes expensive but not ostentatious. He greets Thorvald in fluent Norse apparently. He's been trading with Rus merchants long enough to master the language. Welcome, Thorvald Eriksson. Your reputation precedes you. Mahmud ibn Yusuf sent word that a Rus trader of quality was coming south. You have goods to sell. Thorvald presents samples from his cargo. 3 sable pelts, the finest from his collection, dark and glossy and impossibly soft. He also shows amber pieces, each one perfectly clear, containing preserved insect from ancient forests. Isaac examines each item with the practiced eye of a man who has evaluated thousands of goods. He holds the sable up to the light streaming through the latticed window, runs his fingers through the fur, nods slowly. Exceptional quality, he says finally. True northern sable, not the inferior varieties from the southern forests. These will sell very well. How many pelts do you have? 40 prime sables, another 60 of slightly lesser quality. 30 fox, 20 ermine, 10 wolf. Isaac does calculations in his head, or perhaps on an abacus that sits on his desk, beads sliding with practiced speed. For the prime sables, I can offer 800 dirhams per pelt. The secondary quality, 500. Fox, 150. Ermine, 300. Wolf, 80. Thorvald's mind goes blank. 800 dirhams for a single sable pelt. He has 40 of them. That's 32,000 dirhams just for his best furs. The total value of his cargo, he can barely calculate it. Perhaps 80,000 dirhams? 100,000? You seem surprised, Isaac says with a slight smile. Did Mahmud not warn you? Baghdad is wealthy, my friend. The Caliph al-Muqtadir controls trade routes from Spain to India. The royal treasury receives revenues from provinces you've never heard of. Silver flows into this city from mines in Transoxiana, from taxes on trade, from tribute paid by conquered peoples. And it flows back out in the form of trade, merchants buying goods from across the world to satisfy the appetites of the wealthy. He gestures around the room, at the silk cushions, the carved wooden furniture, the brass lamps, the ceramic vessels that hold ink and pens. Everything you see here was purchased with silver. The silk from China, the wood from India, the brass from Persia, the ceramics from Iraq itself. I am a moderately successful merchant, not wealthy by Baghdad standards, but comfortable. And yet I conduct transactions every month that would represent a year's worth of trade in your northern markets. Where does it all come from? Bjorn asks, his voice almost pleading. How can one city have so much wealth? Isaac stands, walks to the window, gestures out at the city beyond. Organization, knowledge, faith. The Islamic world united peoples from 3 continents under one religious and legal system. We have a common language, Arabic, that allows scholars from Spain to discuss philosophy with scholars from Persia. We have a common currency that facilitates trade across thousands of miles. We have a legal framework based on the Quran that provides stability and predictability. And we have accumulated the knowledge of ancient civilizations, Greek philosophy, Persian administration, Indian mathematics, and built upon it. He turns back to face Thorvald. Your people are brave, fierce warriors, but you fight among yourselves, raid each other's villages, waste your strength on petty conflicts. Here, we have built something larger, an empire of trade and learning, where a merchant can travel from Cordoba to Samarkand and find the same laws, the same currency, the same welcome. That is the source of our wealth. The words hit Thorvald like a physical blow. Because Isaac is right. The Norse world is fractured, kings fighting jarls, jarls fighting each other, tribes raiding neighboring tribes for slaves and silver. There is no unity, no common purpose beyond survival and plunder. Chapter 5. The Weight of Silver, the Price of Wonder. August 10th, 922 AD. 6 days later. The Royal Palace District. The sale of Thorvald's cargo took 3 days. 3 days of negotiations, inspections, and ceremonial transactions witnessed by scribes and sealed with wax. In the end, his furs, amber, and slaves brought 93,000 dirhams, a sum so large that it required 2 servants to carry it to Isaac's warehouse in leather sacks, where it was counted, weighed, and divided. Thorvald kept 30,000 for his crew and trading capital. The rest he converted into a letter of credit, a piece of parchment with Isaac's seal that could be redeemed at Khazar trading posts along the Volga route. Now, with wealth secured and business concluded, Isaac has offered to show them what Baghdad's elite actually do with their silver. They stand before the gates of the palace district, not the caliph's own residence, which foreigners cannot enter, but the quarter where wealthy merchants and government officials maintain their estates. The gate itself is a work of art, carved cedar wood inlaid with geometric patterns in brass and silver, guarded by 2 soldiers in spotless white robes with curved swords at their belts. Isaac shows a token, speaks briefly with the guards, and they're admitted into a world that seems divorced from reality. Gardens. Everywhere gardens. In a land where water is precious, where summer heat turns the plains to dust, the wealthy of Baghdad have created artificial paradises. Trees line every street, date palms, cypresses, fruit trees Thorvald doesn't recognize. Flowers bloom in raised beds, roses and jasmine, their perfume thick in the air. And water, sweet Allah, the water, flows through channels carved into the street itself, feeding fountains that play in every courtyard, creating a constant music of splashing and trickling that cools the air and soothes the mind. This district alone, Isaac says quietly, contains more wealth than most European kingdoms. Each of these estates belongs to a merchant prince or government minister. Some have been in the same family for 3 generations, accumulated fortunes growing with each passing year. They stop before one particular mansion, 3 stories of white stone with a facade decorated in blue tiles that form intricate arabesque patterns. Through the gate, Thorvald can see a courtyard with a central fountain, surrounded by arched walkways. Servants move silently through the space, tending to plants, carrying trays of food. The owner of this house, Isaac continues, is a spice merchant. He controls trade routes from India to Baghdad. His annual income is approximately 200,000 dirhams. With that wealth, he maintains this estate, employs 40 servants, owns a villa in the countryside for summer, and still increases his capital every year. His grandfather was a common trader. His father was prosperous. He is wealthy. His son, if Allah wills, will be a prince of commerce. Bjorn does the mathematics aloud. 200,000 dirhams per year. That's more than the entire treasury of a Norse king. For one merchant, one family, and he is far from the wealthiest. Isaac says, the truly rich, the viziers, the royal family, the great merchant houses, they count their wealth in millions of dirhams. They own estates not just in Baghdad, but in provinces across the Caliphate. They finance caravans to China, trading expeditions to Africa, irrigation projects that feed thousands. Their wealth creates more wealth, spinning outward like ripples on water. They walk further, and Isaac shows them more wonders. A library, a private library belonging to a scholar, that contains over 3,000 books, more volumes than exist in all of Scandinavia combined. A hospital where physicians trained in Greek medicine treat the sick, where surgery is performed with instruments so precise they seem like jewelers' tools. A bathhouse with heated floors, multiple pools of different temperatures, massage rooms, and lounging areas where men discuss business and philosophy while servants bring refreshments. But it's in the marketplace, a smaller, more exclusive market that serves only the wealthy, that Thorvald finally understands the true meaning of abundance. Here, Goods are displayed not for necessity, but for luxury, for status, for the pure pleasure of ownership. A merchant sells nothing but books, rare manuscripts, illuminated texts, works of philosophy, and poetry bound in leather decorated with gold leaf. Another deals exclusively in mechanical devices, water clocks, astrolabes for navigation, even a brass automaton in the shape of a bird that, when wound, sings with a voice that mimics nature. How much? Thorvald asks, pointing to the mechanical bird. The merchant, an elderly man with kind eyes, examines Thorvald's Norse features with interest. You are the rust trader, yes? Isaac's client? For you, a special price. 1,500 dirhams. 1,500 dirhams. For a toy. A beautiful, ingenious toy, but still, more silver than a Norse farmer would see in 10 lifetimes, spent on something that serves no practical purpose beyond delight. Thorvald finds himself laughing. Not mockery, but the helpless laughter of a man whose entire worldview has been shattered and rebuilt in the span of a week. I'll take it, he says. Because why not? He has 30,000 dirhams. He's wealthier than any man in Uppsala, and he wants to bring something back, something that will prove to his people that the world is larger, stranger, and more magnificent than they ever imagined. That evening, back at the foreign merchant's quarter, Thorvald sits with his crew around a fire, the mechanical bird in a wooden case beside him. His men are drunk on cheap wine and expensive realization. They've all been paid their shares, enough silver to make each of them prosperous by Norse standards. But prosperity seems like a small word now, inadequate to describe what they've witnessed. We're going back, Ragnar says, his voice quiet. Back to Sweden, to our cold halls and our small towns. And no one will believe us. No one will understand what we've seen. They will, Thorvald replies, hefting a leather sack that clinks with the weight of silver. Because we're bringing proof. Not just stories, proof. Every dirham we carry back is evidence that somewhere in this world, civilization has reached heights we can barely comprehend. And maybe, just maybe, that knowledge will change us. Make us think bigger, build better, stop fighting each other over scraps when there are empires to trade with. He's right, though he doesn't know it yet. The rust trade with Baghdad and the Islamic world will continue for centuries, pumping Arab silver into Scandinavia, financing the Viking Age, connecting the frozen north to the wealthy south. Archaeological excavations in Sweden will one day uncover hoards containing tens of thousands of Arab dirhams. Physical proof of this extraordinary commercial connection. But tonight, in August 922, Thorvald knows only that he has seen the impossible made real, a city of 500,000 souls, markets flowing with silver like water, wealth so vast it redefines the very meaning of prosperity. Tomorrow, they begin the long journey home, carrying enough silver to buy estates, enough stories to fill sagas, and enough wonder to last a lifetime. The Vikings have met the Islamic Golden Age, and nothing will ever be quite the same.